touchdown.
We need to be able to execute the fundamentals on offense, defense, and special teams.
Pressure coming, sack. Kevin Snyder, team on the late blitz.
And then do it over and over and over again.
Coming and blocked. They got it.
Because the team that does it better is usually the team that wins.
Live from Brother Jimmy's on Easton Avenue in New Brunswick, this is the Kyle Flood Show. Your chance to talk with the head coach of the Scarlet Knights. The Kyle Flood Show is brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Pepsi, live in the moment. The beat starts at Pepsi.com. Pepsi, live for now. UPS, to learn how UPS can put the power of logistics to work for you, visit thenewlogistics.com. To be a part of the show, call 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. Now, let's go live to Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick. Alongside Coach Flood, here's Chris Carlin.
And don't forget about Mr. LeGrand as well, as we welcome you to another edition of the Kyle Flood Show, live at Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick, our final regular season edition of the show the night before Thanksgiving. We hope you are all beginning to have a very happy and safe holiday season. Some ugly roads out there, but hopefully everybody traveling safely. And Eric, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you as always too, Chris, and you too, Coach.
We appreciate that. It's good to have everybody here, and if you're on your way to the show, take your time. We're going to be here for an hour. Well, as Chris said, the roads are a little bit of a mess out there.
And the food will still be here, and it will still be outstanding. We are at Brother Jimmy's, as we said. If you want to be a part of the show, you can do so in a couple of different ways. If you're here in attendance, please come on up front. Ask Coach Flood your question. By seeing our man Jimmy right up front next to the microphone, we will get you on the air. Also, you can give us a call at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. Or you can tweet us your questions at @RFootball as the Scarlet Knights prepare for the final regular season game of the year this coming Saturday afternoon, 3:30, down at Byrd Stadium at the University of Maryland. So, Coach, 6-5 now, 2-5 in the conference. And when you look at last week, what are the things that you took out of it here moving forward, the things that you can build on?
Well, you know, we knew going into the season that this was going to be a very challenging schedule, and it certainly has played out that way. Michigan State's got a good football team. At times, we're doing some things that are pretty good. We didn't do a very good job on third down, and I think ultimately, you know, when we really examined the game and said, you know, what got away from us a little bit, third down really was at the root of a lot of the issues. It didn't allow us to stay on the field and sustain some drives, and it didn't allow us to get off the field. And you know, when an offense converts a third down, now you got to see a whole new set of plays that you really shouldn't have had to see. And you know, it's been one of the focal points this week for us, is doing a better job on third down, and I think that third down success is going to lead to success as a team.
And I know you said this is a special team, Coach, and I know it's hard to look back still on the season because you still have a game left and then a bowl game, but what would you say your overall view of this team has been so far in the way that they've been able to fight and continue to fight?
Yeah, and I've seen that this week in practice. We've had some really spirited practices, and I think it speaks to them confirming how I felt about them all along. I think it's a mature football team, and I think it's a special football team, and I think again, it's not time to recap the season and things like that. We've got a very important game ahead of us this week on the road at Maryland. But when the time is right, we'll talk a little bit more about it. And I think people are going to remember this team the right way.
Okay, some challenges in front of you this week, not just the opponent that we'll talk a little bit about throughout the course of the hour, but certainly a different kind of a schedule this week with the holidays. So how do you handle it? Does it change at all what you do in preparing for the game?
It really doesn't. The only thing that changed for us today was because of class schedules. It allowed us to start just a little bit later, so the players got a little bit more sleep last night. I think that always helps. It allows your body to heal a little bit more. But we're a morning scheduled team, so even our practice tomorrow will be in the morning, but it'll be at its regularly scheduled time, and we'll finish at noon. And then some of the players who are local will have a chance to go home and be with their families, and others will have a chance to go home with them, and some will have a chance to have dinner with me, which I look forward to every year. And you know, we'll see. I encourage them if they want to go home with other players that don't feel an obligation, but some of the players like to stay local, and I want to make sure they have a chance to have a real Thanksgiving dinner.
I was going to ask you, Coach, you know, being a coach, It's hard sometimes with Thanksgiving when you have to game plan it for a weekend when it falls on a Tuesday or Wednesday. But I got to ask you, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Well, I don't know how well this is going to go over because I'm a fan of
something.
I'm a fan of food. There's no doubt about that. But growing up, Thanksgiving really was almost like two separate halves of the table. You had the turkey and the stuffing and the cranberry sauce and the mashed potatoes on one side, but then there was always lasagna on the other side of the table. And that was the side of the table that I drifted towards. I am not anti-turkey, but I will not go on record as saying I am pro-turkey either. I am neutral to turkey.
You're bringing up some sore spots for me. You're realizing growing up because we never had that side of the table, the pasta side of the table.
It's
in
a
my
good
house.
side of the table.
I'm
Chris.
aware.
It's a good side. Oh yeah.
What about you, E?
Well, see, I like to call it all the soul food at my side. We got the Big Mac and cheese. We got baked ziti. Then you get, of course, your sweet potatoes. Yeah, and then
You're carbo loading on
I'm carbo loading up. Then you get
Asleep
your
by
turkey,
4 in the afternoon.
collard greens, all that different stuff, like you said, Coach. And that's my plate is sweet potatoes, baked mac and cheese, baked ziti, collard greens, and a little bit of turkey to go with it. And then at the end, top it off with some sweet potato pie.
Does Mama Karen actually approve of all these things?
Mama Karen approves of the dessert. That's where she's at.
Well, we're going to talk more about everything surrounding the program this week, involved in Thanksgiving as well. Coach, so let's talk a little bit about some of the guys in particular that are stood out a little bit last week. And one in particular, I really think I'm fascinated by watching your two freshman running backs right now. And I think I want to start with Robert Martin for a moment. Am I wrong to say that he is similar in his running style to Paul James?
I think you can make that comparison. Yeah, I think you can, and I think I'm really excited about Josh and Robert, and I do think that they're explosive runners, and I don't disagree with what you said about Robert and PJ. I'm starting to every week see a little bit more of the patience that a runner has, and I think you watch some of Paul James's runs and some of his bigger runs, you'll see he's very patient as the run develops, and I'm seeing more and more in that from the freshman running backs, and that just comes with time. It comes with reps, and it's starting to happen now, and I really believe that those two guys going forward are going to continue to make explosive plays for us.
And as you know, the ball is the program, and you harp it. When someone young like Josh Hicks fumbles the ball, how do you gain his confidence back as such a young guy? And I know how much you harp on the ball is the program and how much it means to keep the ball.
Sure, and we got him back in after that, and I don't believe that when a player makes a mistake, that you yank them and they don't go back in the game, and it's really a situation by situation that you have to handle as the head coach. And I felt like with Josh being a young back, he got hit. He didn't have the ball secured as well as he should have. It went on the ground. It didn't happen again. That's a good sign. I don't expect it to happen again. I don't expect him to be perfect the rest of his career, but I do know that when the ball is carried appropriately, it will not come out. And I think we'd be remiss not to mention our third back, who is Justin Goodwin, and we're fortunate to have Justin with us because he's another proven commodity for us and somebody who's going to have a role for us every week.
Well, with that in mind, that's where I was going next, the idea that you're getting all three involved. All three are playing. Yep. As a coach, and you talk about riding the hot hand when you get to it, how far into the game will you make that decision, I'm going to stick with this guy here and see where he can take us because he seems to be pretty productive today?
I don't know if there's a set line of demarcation for that.
Right.
I think that's really...
It's not 2 or 3 series
No,
or anything like
I don't
that.
think so. I think that you got to have a little bit of a feel for it. I know Robert's gotten a few more carries in the last game than Josh did, but as we start this week, they're both going to get opportunities early in the game, and we'll go from there. And they're both all three of those guys are competitors. All three of them want to carry the football. Every great tailback I've ever been around wants to carry the ball. But I do think they're also good team guys, and they do help each other. They do coach each other on the sideline, and I think that's important too, because whatever decision ultimately I make, I need to make sure that they're all still supporting each other, and I've seen them do a good job of that.
And when it goes into the decision making during the week on who's going to be the first one that goes out there, is that how the practice develops on the week, or is that how the game plan is and how which one you want to see out there first?
Probably more based on how the practice week goes.
Okay.
Who gets to go out there first, and in that situation, kind of like some others, I don't know how important that is because they're both going to get opportunities, but I also know that the players like to be the first one out there.
And one thing that I'm always interested in, especially with younger backs, how have they handled pass protection?
Yeah, both of those guys are doing a good job. They're better and better every week of understanding not just who do they have in pass protection, but really how do you fit in, because there's other little nuances to it in terms of the route you have to run if your responsibility doesn't come, how you can help the offensive tackles and guards if you release appropriately. So there's a little bit more involved than just knowing I have that guy. And then ultimately you got to be able to make the block. But both those guys are physical athletes, and they're strong athletes. So I've seen them make good contact at the point of attack.
As being a coach for so many years, would you say that's the hardest part of learning the running back position at this level, being able to learn pass protection and all the different blitzes, or just being able to just go out there with your natural ability and running the ball?
No, I think the other things other than running the ball are always the toughest on the young backs. It's really, and especially in an offense like ours where they can line up really anywhere in the offense, because those are things that they're not really asked to do at high school very often. In high school, they may be getting the ball handed to them 25 to 40 times a game, and they're running the football, and that's what they do, and they've been great at it their whole lives. And now they got to be in the pass protection, because in the college level, as a running back, if you don't fit into the pass protection, you become a liability. And the defensive coaches are smart; they figure it out in a hurry, and they'll figure out a way to get somebody matched up on that running back. And now you got issues if you can't hold up.
Once again, we want you to be a part of the program. You can tweet us your questions at rfootball or give us a call at 855-356-6344. Get your questions in for Coach Flood. One other question regarding, well, a couple regarding the offense, but Gary in particular, with Gary Nova, Coach. I know this time of year, most everybody is banged up in some way. Gary was certainly not in any way going to make any kind of excuses last week. What's your sense on how he is right now?
I was pleased with how he handled it. It wasn't his best game. He owned it. He knew that, and I'm excited about the week he's had. I think he's had a really good practice week. I do think he is closer to 100%, although I don't think he'll be 100% this year. That's just the reality of it. But I think he's closer to 100% than he was last week, and I think he's had a better practice week than last week. Just watching him throw the football, and again, I'm excited about what he can do going on the road in a conference game against a good football team. It's good to have a senior quarterback because they have one too.
And when those decisions are made to put him in there, you see him during practice during the week, but then you see him come in with a walking boot during the game. When are those decisions made? Is it at a hotel, or it's a game time decision, or is it during the week when you really get a good feeling on after a Thursday practice? No,
we knew all week. The walking boot is really just a precautionary thing that we did, and he was wearing it for a couple days when he wasn't out on the practice field. But that's really more precautionary than anything else, just to relieve a little bit of the pressure when he's not playing, help the healing process a little bit. Now I know that a little bit was made of that. It wasn't something that was just for that day. It wasn't anything that happened the day before. But no, the plan last week, the entire week, was for Gary to go in the game as the starter, and the plan is the same this week.
And what did you take out of Chris Laviano's performance, the series that he got?
I think it's good that he's getting more experience. I think all those things ultimately are going to help him as he goes forward in his career. He's getting real-world experience against good football players, and every time you do it, you learn something about yourself. The game slows down a little bit for you, and ultimately you become a better player because of it.
And also, how important is it to develop these connections that he has now with some of the receivers and the running backs that he's working with?
I think that's important, but I think that's happening in practice. And because when you're the backup quarterback, you're taking a lot of your reps you're taking an individual, throwing timing routes with tight ends and running backs and receivers, and you'll get some team reps, but not as many as the starter. But you get a lot of reps in Indy.
Let's take our first time out of the night. We've got a lot to do over the next hour, talking about Rutgers and Maryland this coming Saturday. Again, give us a call at 855-FLOOD-44 or tweet your questions at rfootball. We're live at Brother Jimmy's, downtown New Brunswick, for this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show.
The chalkboard. Sweeps, screens. Every play is drawn up and studied. When you can visualize a play, you can execute a play. The same is true in business. The more visibility you have in your supply chain, the better your business performs. That's why UPS lets you track what comes in and what goes out. Logistics is our game. See how we can help yours at thenewlogistics.com. UPS, official logistics partner of the NCAA.
Campus Insiders takes you inside the college football playoff ranking with live expanded coverage every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, leading up to the final rankings on December 7th. Tune into the College Football Playoff Digital Network, powered by Campus Insiders, to watch live interviews with Committee Chairman Jeff Long, reaction from insiders nationwide, and team-by-team assessments of what it will take for each program to reach the college football playoff. Go to campusinsiders.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Looking for a place to watch all of the Rutgers football action as they head into the Big Ten? Enjoy the games with fellow Scarlet Knights fans at these Rutgers Athletics official watch party locations. New York City's Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, Hoboken's Cadillac Cantina, Tom's Rivers McIntyre's Pub, New Brunswick's Mike's Courtside Sports Bar and Grill, and Quaker Steak and Lube's 3 locations in Edison, Brick, and Powhatan.
Oh, what up, Rutgers? Hey, guess what? I bet you didn't know you're about to have 3 different kinds of barbecue sauce all over that sweet, sticky mug of yours. Also, bet you didn't know, down south in North Carolina, we can actually make some of the best barbecue you've ever had in your ding-dong life. So come on down to Brother Jimmy's Barbecue and put some South in your mouth. Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, located at 5 Easton Avenue, New Brunswick, New Jersey. Or check us out at brotherjimmys.com. See y'all real soon.
Welcome back to Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick. This week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show. We want you to be a part of the show at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. And we've got an upset brewing right now as we speak up at the College Avenue Gym. How about this? The women's volleyball team currently hosting number 5 Wisconsin, and they just took the first set, 25-22.
Nice job. Very nice.
They're number 2 in the country. Excuse me, not number 5. I was looking at the last week's rankings. How about that? So, if you're in the area, maybe stop by. You might get a chance to see a great upset going on right now. All right, Coach, let's talk about some of the things coming into this week's game with Maryland. First of all, it's interesting. A lot of people have brought this up with the team from Pennsylvania, and now, I guess, are we officially going with the team from the South or not?
I call them Maryland.
Okay, we'll go with Maryland. The idea of a potential rivalry game, turning this into a trophy-like game, to have a trophy to award at the end of the game. Your thoughts on this? What do you think about it? I know you love regional football and regional rivalries.
I do. Yeah, I do.
What do you think?
I think it's got a chance. I think it's got a chance to do that, but I think it has to develop organically over time. And, you know, the things that will allow it to happen, if it does happen, is you've already got the regional aspect of it. The fan bases can travel without having to stay overnight. That allows more of the families of your players, the families of their players, to really see the game and come back the same day. A lot of the players know each other. You know, there's a lot of these players that have either played it with each other in high school, against each other in high school, or have been to the same junior days in the recruiting circuit. So the familiarity adds to that for sure. And now you need the great games. You need the close games, and then ultimately you have a rivalry that develops. And if there's a trophy involved with it, that's great, but certainly not necessary.
And all sports, Coach, what is your favorite rivalry?
What is my
That's a great question.
Well, the rivalry I grew up probably watching more than any was Lakers Celtics in the 80s.
Really?
Yep. Okay.
That was the one I grew up with, and I was a Magic Johnson, Los Angeles Laker fan. James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Byron Scott.
Hang on a second. Bayside, Queens.
Yeah.
You're rooting for the Lakers?
Well, the Knicks have no one to blame but themselves. They weren't very competitive back then in the 80s. And
they didn't come into the house and recruit you.
I'm not trying to pick a Twitter war with Phil Jackson or anything like that. I'm just speaking to what they were in the 80s.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you were a big Laker guy, and obviously
I was.
they had some great ones. That's right in the wheelhouse, too. That was a terrific one, no doubt.
And I try to tell my son, back then, it was Sunday basketball, and it was the only basketball you saw all week. And it was always Lakers, Celtics, Celtics, Sixers, it was some combination of only a couple teams really that you ever saw on TV.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. You're a young guy.
There was no TNT back then.
No, there was no TNT and none of that. So it was a big deal. You made sure you were in the house to see it if you were a fan.
Dick Stockton and Tommy Heinsohn, always on those games. What about football? Was there one in particular that you liked?
Well, I grew up. Again, I'm gonna take heat from this for where we live. I grew up a Tom Landry Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know.
I just heard a collective groan.
But I will say this: I've been coaching football now for 21 years, and the only teams I root for in the NFL are teams that have Rutgers players on them.
Okay, fair enough.
And if you would have ever told me as a young person that I would root for the Pittsburgh Steelers in a Super Bowl, I would have said there's no way. But when Darnell Stapleton was starting at right guard, helping Ben Roethlisberger win a Super Bowl and carrying the Steelers to a Super Bowl on his shoulders, I rooted for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Fair enough.
Because of my guy.
And we're going to get into some of the players who are right now making major impacts across the league in a second. What were you going to ask me? I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you now, Coach. Do you get a chance to watch some of these Rutgers players? Busy on Sundays.
I really don't. I really don't. Sunday's a work day for us and a heavy lifting day, and maybe at the end of the season, and if they're the ones that are fortunate to be in the playoffs, which usually is the ones who are playing for the Patriots. That's for sure. They usually end up in the playoffs. I get a chance to see them. I get to see a little bit of that at that point.
And that's what I was going to bring up. First of all, the guys with the Patriots and pretty much the entire secondary, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Deron Harmon had an interception and Timmy Wright had a touchdown. Yep. It was a pretty good
Logan
day.
Ryan had a pick as well last week.
Oh, Logan Ryan. I'm sorry. Logan Ryan.
Timmy Wright had 2 touchdowns.
Two touchdowns. Right. All right.
Yep.
He has become their goal line vulture from the tight end position. And when you see a guy like Tim Wright in particular, though, there's a guy that's he did everything the right way here. He really did. And another example of what you want your typical Rutgers football player to be. But when you watch him all of a sudden take the step to the next level, and he's making that transition to tight end, even though he had played a little bit here.
Yeah, it was one of the things I was going to say. Yeah, I'm proud of Timmy. I enjoyed coaching him. I enjoyed being around him. He was one of our captains in 2012. And but a lot of people forget that in 2011, we actually did use him as a tight end, and we used him in the backfield a little bit as an H-back and did some of the things with him that they're doing with him now in the NFL. So he's a talented guy, but more important than that, he's a super high intangible guy, and I think that's why he was on Tampa, and it's why New England wanted him, and they traded to get him, and that's why he's a coveted piece of their puzzle right now.
I'll tell you what, and some off-the-field stuff with Timmy. I was his roommate freshman year, so learning right away that he can give one of the best haircuts and shape-ups in the business. And Revis actually was happy that he came up there from Tampa with him. So
the right cut, I believe is what he calls it.
So,
the right
Tim
cut.
Wright always gets it done, man. Always with a fresh shape-up or a nice haircut.
Well, that is actually the impetus for the 2 barber's chairs we have in our locker room today. And it was something that the day Coach Giano took the Tampa job, I became the interim head coach at that point. I walked the building. I went down to the locker room, and Timmy Wright was cutting hair in the locker room. And I looked at him and I said, hey, when I become the head coach on Monday, you're going to have a real barber's chair. Well, on Monday, I was the head coach, and 2 weeks later, he had a barber chair.
Nice.
A couple of the other guys, Mohamed Sanu is really coming into his own with the Bengals, and he and A.J. Green are certainly a very, very dangerous 1-2 combination. But you're starting to see some of those Mohamed Sanu-like catches that we saw at Rutgers.
I'm really excited for Mo because Mo spends a lot of time here in the offseason training and just being around. And I had a talk with him in my office, and he was telling me that he really felt like last offseason he took his training to another level. And he really felt good about being ready for the season, and he's having a great year. So I know he put a lot of work in the offseason. I'm really excited he's seeing the results on the field.
I know someone you'll truly be happy about that doesn't get that much recognition. Jeremy Zuda, starting off as center for the Ravens, and everything that they've been able to do, especially in Gary Kubiak's offense. 1,000-yard rushes with my Broncos over the early 2000s, baby. So, they're doing really well right now. So,
do you still root for Coach Kubiak now that he's with the Ravens?
Hey, nah. I'm die-hard Denver, baby. Hey, Denver all day.
I'm excited for Jeremy. I mean, I knew after coaching Jeremy that he was going to spend a lot of time in that league. God willing, he stayed healthy, and he has. Mm-hmm. And he's just, again, another high intangible guy, very talented. I don't ever want people to think that they're not talented when I say that, but I just know in that league, when you're dealing with everybody being so talented, you have to separate yourself with intangibles, and Jeremy's as high as they get, and again, had a nice career with Tampa and then signed as a free agent with the Ravens and has been their starting center. I saw in our little Knights in the NFL deal that we released that they ran for over 200 yards last week, which in the NFL is an impressive number. So, again, I'm pumped up for him. I think they're having a good year. I'm not sure exactly what their record is, but I think they're on the verge of being in the postseason, or if it ended today, they would be.
They just beat the Saints.
Yep. Our telephone number, 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. So with the trip to Maryland this week, it's interesting. There are a couple of tie-ins on the coaching front that we should discuss for a moment.
No.
Well, let's start with not the obvious one. Let's start with Maryland's current head coach, who Rutgers is very familiar with, and Randy Edsall, who, of course, spent all those years at Connecticut. And first of all, you ever any kind of a relationship with Coach Edsall? Did you know him at all?
I did not. Nothing above and beyond, head coaches meetings and being with him. And I know he was on the staff at Jacksonville. Coach Coughlin's, I think, original staff at Jacksonville. Did a tremendous job at UConn. Really, really did a good job up there. And his teams were always tough to play against when we were in the Big East together. And he's done a good job down at Maryland. His football team plays good football. They're tough in all three phases of the game, and you got to play. You better play clean football to win against a Randy Edsall team.
And I'm glad you brought up that toughness factor, because I remember playing against those UConn games. There was a bloody battle out there. So are you kind of expecting the same type of deal going against Maryland now?
I am. Yeah, I am. I think what we're looking at is a one-score game, two good football teams, and ultimately all the little things, drive, start, turnovers, running the football, stopping the run. Those are going to be the things ultimately to decide the game.
I'll handle this part. Rutgers 6-2 all time against Randy Edsall, and of course your offensive coordinator, Ralph RVision, spent 9 years as the head coach at Maryland, and his last year 2010. So Eric, we were talking about before. This would be his older classes right now. The older classes at Maryland would be kids that he was recruiting there. First of all, any kind of a knowledge that he can bring from their program, and certainly it's a whole different staff and all that, but personnel-wise with their older players?
Maybe just a little bit, but I think it might be a bigger factor if it was the first game of the year. But we've got 11 games to look at, and I think what we're going to ultimately value in our opinions about their players and the matchups and the schemes is going to be more based on the film than anything else. But I know Ralph did recruit most of those juniors and seniors that are on that team. So he certainly has a connection to him.
I got to ask you, Coach, have you talked to him about now preparing in that away locker room now instead of up in his big office up in that building where I remember going up to when I was getting recruited down there?
We did. Did, and I asked him a little bit about it, so it sounds like it might be a little bit tight, but we'll be ready for it.
Did you meet with Coach RVision when you were being recruited?
I did. Actually,
what did you think of him when you met him?
I thought he was great. I remember going into his office. I got to see his office in there, and he looked over the field. And I remember I went down to Maryland, I believe, 3 or 4 times on visits, and I thought it was tremendous, But of course, I eventually signed where I was
where you belong.
Well, where I belonged, and
so did Coach RVision.
And Coach RVision, that's right. And Coach RVision, he did a great job down there.
Has there been any kind of discussion about this game with Coach RVision at all, just from a personal standpoint?
No, and I know Ralph's got a lot of great memories down there. He played there. And he worked there as an assistant. Then he went back as the head coach, had a lot of success. I think he won 3 ACC championships there as a head coach, 2-time ACC Coach of the Year, I believe, maybe 3. But he had a lot of success there. I know he's got a lot of great memories from there. But Ralph is a true professional, and he prepares every week, and he pours everything he has into the game plan every week. And this week I haven't felt anything different.
And it's all about, as you said, just making memories. What do you think this will be a great memory for him to go down there and beat a Maryland team that he used to coach?
I think every win is a great memory. I don't want to speak for Ralph. I don't want to speak for Ralph on that, but I know Ralph's a competitor, and every day when we line up, he wants to be 1-0. So from that perspective, there's no doubt that that's the memory we're looking for.
And from Ralph's perspective, he's a guy that has always been known as a quarterback guru. Boomer Esiason, certainly one that he had a major impact on that Boomer still talks about today. Where do you see the biggest impact he's had on your quarterbacks this season?
I think decision-making. That to me, I think, is probably the most important thing, and the area I've seen the most improvement. I'll give you a quick Boomer story. I was with him at an event in the offseason, and we're not friends, but we've met enough that we recognize each other. And he said, hey, make sure you say hello to Ralph for me. I said, I will. And he says, if your players listen, they'll be better.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, and he's right. And when they listen, and when they allow themselves to be coached, they get better. And I think we've seen that on the season.
And have you picked up little tidbits from Ralph, learning different things from the quarterback position as he's seen over the years and years and years of coaching?
Absolutely. And just being around him and watching him work every day, you pick things up. But for me as the head coach, just as valuable has been my ability to ask him questions from the head coaching perspective. Something he did for a long time and somebody who worked for a lot of really good head coaches. So he's got some great ideas from a program-wide standpoint that have also been very helpful.
We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll hit the phones, and we will, when we do hit the phones when we return, we will check in on another rivalry that wants to be discussed. We'll get into that coming up in just a few moments. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us at Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick for this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show.
We're about living in the moment.
You know, that moment when you open a Pepsi and hear the music.
We're the doers, the shakers, the tastemakers.
The ones who dance to their own beat.
The ones who stay cool when things heat up.
Whether the party is big or small.
We're the ones who never want it to end.
The ones who can't stop.
And never will.
The beat starts at Pepsi.com. Pepsi. Live for now.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
We built the Audi A3 sedan with available features like 4G LTE Wi-Fi, cutting-edge MMI touch, industry-leading LED headlamp technology, and legendary Audi Quattro all-wheel drive. Because why settle for mediocrity when you can power past it? Stay uncompromised.
Experience luxury without compromise in the new Audi A3 with legendary Quattro all-wheel drive at your local New Jersey Audi dealer. The New Jersey Audi dealers, proud sponsors of Rutgers Athletics.
IMG College is the exclusive marketing and multimedia rights holder for Rutgers University. Through Rutgers IMG Sports Marketing, your business now has a total custom solutions provider for marketing through Rutgers athletic events. As the Scarlet Knights enter the Big Ten, now more than ever is the time to become an official partner of the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Call Rutgers IMG Sports Marketing at 732-445-7870. Thanks for listening to the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Welcome back. It is the Kyle Flood Show live from Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick. We're going to ask our man Scott to just be patient for 1 second because we've had a gentleman waiting on the phone. Our telephone number again, 855-356-6344. That's 855-FLOOD-44. Luke in Queens has been very patient. Luke, you are on the Kyle Flood Show. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? It's Lewis, actually. I guess I got the name wrong.
Lou? I'm sorry. How
yeah,
are you?
Lou. Yeah, that's all right. Good. How you guys doing over there?
Good.
I actually called up because I saw you guys were discussing rivalries, and I know that Coach Flood played at St. Francis Prep, and I played at Holy Cross High School. So I know of a great rivalry in Queens known as the Battle of the Boulevard.
That's right.
And I was just wondering what the thoughts are, where that ranks in rivalry discussion.
Well, I think it ranks right at the top. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But everybody knows about the Battle of the Boulevard and St. Francis Prep and Holy Cross High School, two high schools that are on the same street, separated by 2 miles. And I believe it's the Q76 that runs on Francis Lewis Boulevard between the two schools. Mr. O'Connor, my head coach, has been there for over 50 years, and Tom Pugh, the head coach at Holy Cross, has been there over 30, and I might be shorting him a few years on that one. So two really classy gentlemen, two programs that have had a lot of success over the years. And just like all rivalries, a lot of players on both sides that grew up with each other, know each other, grew up in the same neighborhoods, and always a spirited rivalry. And I got a chance to be a part of it in the varsity level in 1987 and 88. And I believe if you check the records, you'll notice that we were 2-0 in those games.
Oh, I was 3-0 in my time.
3 year. You had to one up me, Lou. You're a 3-year varsity guy, so my hat is off to you.
I was a 3-year guy, but just want to say good luck this weekend.
I'll tell you what, a Holy Cross guy wishing a St. Francis guy luck. We have made progress in this world.
We have, because normally, like every rivalry, it's more friendly now than what it used to be. It's died down a lot. So, but good luck, Chop Maryland, and I'll be at the game with the family. I was at the Michigan game and I was at the Indiana game. So I'm 2-0 when I go.
I like
so
that.
I'm going to hopefully go to 3-0 as a fan this year. So.
1-0 one more time.
Yes, sir. 1-0.
Thanks, Lou.
Thanks, Lou, for checking in. We appreciate it. From Lou, we go to our man Scott in attendance, as he always is. Scott, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
Good to see you, Scott.
Always good to be here. My question, as you guys have been talking about the past few minutes, has been the rivalry, Rutgers-Maryland, this new rivalry. Every good rivalry's got to have a trophy, though. If this ends up getting a trophy, what would you like to see it be?
Oh, you know what? I'll leave that in the hands of other people to design the trophy, but I would be all for it. I think those are things that really just enhance the game. They make it more exciting. They make it a little bit more fun for the players. So, whatever that trophy looks like, I'm all for it. And I think that would be great. But I think those decisions usually get made on the administrative level.
All right, great. I'll be at the game Saturday, so I'll see you there.
Excellent.
And where are you going to spend Thanksgiving?
I'm going to my grandma's house, heading out with my cousin right after this.
And what is Grandma's best dish?
Oh.
See, you're almost part of the show, so we're going to give you an opportunity.
Yeah. My cousin's screaming at me stuffing. I got to agree. Grandma makes the best stuffing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So enjoy Chop Thanksgiving. We'll see you Saturday.
you tell Grandma we said chop turkey.
Absolutely, we'll do. By the way, when you carve the turkey, do you go traditional with a carver, or do you go with the axe?
All right, your time is up. Thank you, Scott, for coming.
Our next guy is on the phone. We'll get to him in just a second, getting him situated. So exactly how, Coach, will Thanksgiving be handled? You said that some of the guys are going to be with you tomorrow.
Yep.
So fill me in here. How's this broken up? I know some guys go home with some of the Jersey guys. Fill me in here.
The local guys go home for the most part, and then we have some of the guys that aren't as local who a lot of times will go home with the players, and I think that's great. I really do. I don't have an issue with that. But if there's somebody who doesn't really want to do that or isn't comfortable with it for whatever reason, we're going to have a great setup in the Hyatt. We've got a room, and the Hyatt does an awesome job. They make it like a living room, dining room setup. It's not like just being in a room or a cafeteria. They do a phenomenal job, Adrian, over there, and the staff. They really treat us like family, and it's one of the reasons why we love the relationship over there. And we will have the whole spread. And last year was actually the first time that I had fried turkey.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Deep fried turkey. And again, as a self-proclaimed lukewarm aficionado of turkey,
yes,
I will say this. When you fry it, it gets better.
Well, I find that pretty much to be the case with everything.
Just about. Just about.
Well, how does it change? I haven't had it. I've only heard
I'll
about
tell you,
it.
it's good.
I've never tried it.
It's really
either.
good.
Really.
I'm getting more and more bitter toward my family by the minute of the show. I
Hey,
gotta
Chris,
tell you.
I might have to hook you up with a plate, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hook you up.
Can we get Chris over there for a couple hours, maybe?
I know, man. I'm telling you.
It's not that far.
Let's get to the phones. Our man Danny is in Middlesex. Danny, you're up next on the Kyle Flood Show. How are you?
Good.
How are you,
Danny.
buddy?
Danny, what time are your parents allowed to stay out till tonight? I want to make sure they get home on time.
Danny, are you there?
Yeah.
What do you got for us, Danny?
Is the game with Maryland now going to be a rivalry?
You know, Danny, I think it's got a chance to be. I think it's got all the ingredients that you look for with something like that for sure. And I think the last ingredient that you need are the great football games, and I think we're going to see one this Saturday.
Okay.
You fired up for the game, Danny?
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Enjoy the turkey tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving, Danny.
Okay. Thanks.
Take it easy, buddy. I'll see you in Middlesex.
The great Danny Garofalo.
Danny Garofalo. I ran into Danny the other day, and I really, I'll tell you what, when I ran into him, I was a little bit embarrassed for myself.
Why is that?
Because Danny had his Christmas lights on his wheelchair. Now, I notice, Eric, you don't have any Christmas lights yet.
No,
But Danny had his on, and it made me think. I was supposed to put those lights up at the house last week, and I didn't get it done. But I'm telling you, any day now, those lights are going up.
Well, I mean, listen, that's ambitious. I still have people in the neighborhood that have Halloween stuff up, and
really,
I mean, to me, those people got to start getting fined or something. I don't know. Once again, you can give us a call at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344, or tweet us your questions at @RFootball. So how many guys do you think that you're going to have at this meal tomorrow? And when you say they set it up like a living room, like big TVs, the whole thing?
We got a TV. We've got a couple couches, a couple chairs. We've got a nice little dining room type table and a buffet spread, which they do an excellent job. A multitude of desserts, Eric.
I'm all about the desserts.
So if you want to do a double header, you can stop by to Hyatt and with us for an hour or two, and then head over to Mama
Duke.
I won't tell on you. We won't take any selfies and tweet you out or anything like that. So you can sneak over. But every year it fluctuates. And again, I encourage the guys who want to go home and go with the other guys to do that. But we've got a few signed up. Last year, I think we had 12 to 15 players, and then 6 staff members who came over and spent some time with us. So it was good.
So when you get to do this stuff, turkey puts everyone to sleep. What about the next day? What time do you got to be there in the office the next day, or for the players, I should say?
Oh, they'll be all right. I think they get there at 4:45 or something. No, it's no. Friday's a travel day for us. So our Friday schedule, we're going to practice before we get on the buses and go. We'll be there in the morning, I think around 8:30, but it's not too early. They'll be all right.
We'll take another time out. When we come back, we'll talk about some recent national recognition that Rutgers just got this week. So stay with us. A lot to discuss with the matchup with Maryland this coming Saturday, 3:30. The game is on ESPNU and, of course, on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. From Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick, this is the Kyle Flood Show.
Looking for a place to watch all of the Rutgers football action as they head into the Big Ten? Enjoy the games with fellow Scarlet Knights fans at these Rutgers Athletics official watch party locations. New York City's Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, Hoboken's Cadillac Cantina, Tom's River's McIntyre's Pub, New Brunswick's Mike's Courtside Sports Bar and Grill, and Quaker Steak and Lube's 3 locations in Edison, Brick, and Powhatan.
What's up, Rutgers? Y'all ready for some football? Brother Jimmy's in New Brunswick is your headquarters for Scarlet Knight football, as well as your home for the Jets, Giants, and all your favorite NFL teams. With over 30 HD TVs, we serve up all of NFL action on Sunday and Monday nights, with amazing food and drink specials all game long. So come on down to Brother Jimmy's and put some South in your mouth. For reservations and event information, visit us at BrotherJimmy's.com. Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, located at 5 Easton Avenue, New Brunswick, New Jersey. See y'all soon.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
STS Tire and Auto Centers has been a proud sponsor of Rutgers Athletics for over 29 years. Trust STS service professionals to fix your vehicle right the first time and provide peace of mind with every tire purchase. So when your vehicle needs service or a set of the right tires at the right price, turn to any one of STS's 150 neighborhood locations. And with our tire price assurance plan, you're guaranteed to get the best price on your next set of tires. STS, nobody treats you better than an owner. STStire.com.
Did you know that Bill Rasmussen, the founder of ESPN, earned his MBA at Rutgers? With the #1 public MBA in the New York metropolitan area, according to U.S. News, professionals come to Rutgers to enhance their careers without being saddled with the huge debt that comes with attending a private business school. Rutgers Executive Education provides access to the top minds in their fields: digital marketing, social media, healthcare management, entrepreneurship, and much more. In class, online, or at your company. Learn more at business.rutgers.edu/executive education.
We are back on this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show. Rutgers and Maryland this coming Saturday, 3:30 on ESPNU. We're live at Brother Jimmy's in downtown New Brunswick. A couple of things I wanted to get to. First of all, nothing new here, but definitely worth getting into. The American Football Coaches Association this week recognized several schools for outstanding graduation rates, and no surprise, right there, Rutgers right in the mix, getting recognized for that again.
No doubt, and I think when you look at us academically, from a graduation success rate standpoint or from an academic progress rate standpoint, the two ways it really gets judged, we fare very well in both. And one of the reasons, again, why, to me, we fit so perfectly into the Big Ten is the academic culture of the Big Ten is a culture that we've had at Rutgers for a long time, and I think it just fits perfectly into that conference.
And how is that important is that when you're recruiting these guys, to find the right ones that want to graduate, not just looking, I'm 3 years and I'm gone, coach. How important is it when you're recruiting?
I think it's critical. I think it's one of the questions that you have to ask and get a great answer to, and find those players that want to leave Rutgers with a degree. And, are there going to be guys who are so talented maybe they leave after 3 years? That's going to happen, but that's a player who leaves for a good reason.
Yeah.
But the ones who stay, graduate, and they're successful whether they're playing football or not, and that becomes, as you know, what we call the Rutgers advantage.
And Ray Lucas and I were having this discussion the other day, and he called the day that he got his degree probably a top 3 moment in his life, in addition to getting married and his children being born and all those kinds of things. But just being able to achieve that, and that's a guy that made it into the NFL and was an 8-year player in the league.
And I've talked to so many players over the years that we've coached here at Rutgers that are the first people in their family who have an opportunity to graduate from college. And maybe they didn't appreciate it as much when they were in high school, but you're right. The day they get that degree is an emotional day for them, an emotional day for their families, and then hopefully a legacy that they'll perpetuate to their children and their children's children.
And as I always say, the Alumni Association, there's just so many alumni from Rutgers, and we take pride in it, and I'm glad to be a part of it now.
Absolutely.
Coach, how about a special event that was held at High Point Solution Stadium? Was that earlier today that it happened?
This was 7:30 kickoff this
7:30.
morning in the snow/rain. The second year we've done it, and it really just a phenomenal event between the ROTC, Army, and Navy on our campus in what they call the Turkey Bowl, a flag football game. And the way I understand it, the winner from last year, because I believe they had a little tournament with the Air Force as well, gets grandfathered in or gets a bye to the finals. So Navy defeated Air Force in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
And then on a last-second play, Army defeated Navy 8-6 to capture their second consecutive Turkey Bowl.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That's fun.
But, I mean, listen, we continue to talk about how big of a part the military and honoring our veterans and honoring those who serve, and the ROTC, just another tie-in here with their football program.
Yeah, and they've been tremendous in supporting us, and for us to have the opportunity to get them on our field and let those guys play. And the Army ROTC, they had about 40 or 50 other cadets that were up in the stands with signs cheering away, and the coaches, Gordon Kim for Army and midshipman third class William Beasley for Navy, they did a tremendous job because they had their plays. It looked very organized. I really was impressed with how much time they had put into it. And I asked Colonel Shallow how long they had spent practicing, and he said 2 weeks. So they had 2 weeks to get the game plan in and get it ready, and they did a nice job.
And as you mentioned, Coach, playing on the field, I got to give a shout out to my Colonial Patriots who are coming here December 6th, undefeated right now, to take on Phillipsburg to try to win their first state championship in history. And also,
in the history,
they started in 1967.
Hold on now. You're telling me that a Colonia team with Eric LeGrand didn't win a state title?
I'll tell you what, Coach, my senior year, made it to the playoffs. We had 7 turnovers. Our quarterback had pneumonia, and we lost by 6, and we didn't get the job done.
Excuses breed mediocrity.
We didn't get the job done.
You've done a great job of delivering some of them.
We didn't get the job done, Coach.
That's better.
Hey. And my cousin also will be here, too, playing for Jackson Memorial.
All right, I love it. I love it.
Coach, a couple of notes on the game this week. First of all, it's interesting the way Maryland runs their offense now. First of all, they're without Stephon Diggs, who was one of their best receivers, if not their best receiver. He's
one of the better players in the conference.
Yeah, really very good.
Steph's a really talented guy.
And he's sidelined right now, so they're going to be without him. Has that changed very much anything of what they do in terms of the passing game with their 6-year quarterback, C.J. Brown?
Yeah, it really hasn't. They have a nice core group of receivers. Stephon Diggs is, like I said, one of the more dynamic players in this conference. Not an easy guy to replace, but they're using multiple people to try to do it. But the offense structurally has not changed. I will say the one thing they've trended a little bit more towards as the season has gone on is that they have run the quarterback a little bit more. Something that Ralph said when they recruited him, they were looking forward to doing. You know, they really thought he was a dual threat guy who could really run around. He does a nice job. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry on his designed runs. The sacks take away from his numbers a little bit. So he's a weapon for him, and he throws good football. But I said this earlier in the week. The most impressive thing to me about CJ is that when you watch the film, whether the pocket is clean or the pocket is not clean, he always looks in complete command of the game, in complete command of the field. And that's what you would expect out of a sixth-year senior.
And as you said, a sixth-year senior, how important is it going to be for your disguises on defense? As a sixth-year senior, I'm sure he's seen multiple blitzes, different coverages. Sure. I'm sure he's seen it also. How important will be disguising this week?
Yeah, I don't know that there'll be something that we do that he hasn't seen somewhere along the line in his career. But you do have to try to disguise, and you do have to try to move some coverages around and make sure that what he sees pre-snap isn't always what he sees post-snap, because he's a good football player. But then you're going to have to win some one-on-ones, and you're going to have to get to him. And you have to get to him with a 3, 4, 5, 6-man rush. And that's going to be critical that we do that, because if he can just stand back there and be comfortable, he's going to be hard to stop.
How about defensively? They're a 4-3 base. Fill us in a little bit about the Terps on defense.
Yeah, they list themselves as a 4-3. When you watch them, they're a little bit more 3-4 personnel. Structurally, very similar structurally to what we do. Their defensive coordinator comes with an NFL background. He was the defensive coordinator for 2 years, I believe, with the Cowboys. And they have a pro-style multiple defense, and you see some combination coverages that you see in the NFL. So I think they're well coached. I think they play hard on defense. And they'll blitz really everybody in the defense. Everybody gets their opportunity at some point or another to blitz. And they'll play a little bit of zero coverage, which is not always the norm these days. You don't see it every week, but we're going to see it this week. There's going to be some max blitzes and zero coverage.
And can you talk about some of their D linemen also getting to the quarterback and pressure on the quarterbacks that you've seen?
Yeah, they've got a guy, Andre Monroe, number 93, who really he reminds me of Ramel Meekins, for the Rutgers fans who have been with us for a while. He's that type of disruptive interior player, high motor, good hands, very powerful. But their other guys are good as well. And when you get to some of the heavier personnel groups, they'll play with 4 true defensive linemen and their rush, who's kind of a hybrid guy. They have a rush position like we do, number 51 for them. And they've got a guy in the middle, number 47, who is really like an old school 4-3 middle linebacker and does a good job of running to the football and being physical at the point of contact.
We'll take one more time out and continue to talk about the matchup with Maryland this coming Saturday. 855-FLOOD-44. Slide in your last questions for Coach Flood as the Scarlet Knights prepare for their final regular season game of the 2014 season. From Brother Jimmy's and downtown New Brunswick, this is the Kyle Flood Show.
AT&T's best ever pricing for individuals and families lets you stay connected with the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network. It's easy. Just find the service plan that fits you best, including options up to 10 lines, so you can text, call, and download pretty much everywhere you go. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
AT&T is a proud partner of Rutgers Athletics.
Reliability claim based on nationwide carriers 4G LTE. 4G LTE not available everywhere.
Campus Insiders takes you inside the college football playoff ranking with live expanded coverage every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, leading up to the final rankings on December 7th. Tune into the College Football Playoff Digital Network, powered by Campus Insiders, to watch live interviews with Committee Chairman Jeff Long, reaction from insiders nationwide, and team-by-team assessments of what it will take for each program to reach the college football playoff. Go to campusinsiders.com.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
When you park with the parking spot, our friendly drivers get you from trunk to airport terminal faster. And the time you save parking with us, you can use to daydream about the road trip and leading a stadium of screaming fans in the biggest wave ever. Make a free reservation now at theparkingspot.com, and with the money you save, you'll be able to afford face paint remover. Free reservations now at theparkingspot.com. The Parking Spot, proud sponsor of Rutgers Athletics. We have airport parking covered.
In 2014,
It is caught at the goal line.
the Scarlet Knights are thinking
A touchdown for the Scarlet Knights.
big.
Third touchdown of the day.
Same tradition, new home.
Intercepted. The Scarlet Knights have the pick.
Big Ten football.
Rutgers ball, and this one is over.
Listen all season long on your home for Scarlet Knights football. The Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Couple of more minutes on this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show. It's Rutgers and Maryland this Saturday at Byrd Stadium down in College Park. Game is on ESPNU. I do want to mention something for Mr. LeGrand first. For those who have not seen it yet, it aired for the first time last night on HBO, a documentary series, and it's called State of Play from the director and former actor Peter Berg. And he followed you and another gentleman who was paralyzed around for how long did they shoot for? It was a long time, right?
So it was this week last year. They followed us around for 5 days, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. And
wow,
yeah, it was incredible. You know, they really get the real experience of the spinal cord injuries, and you know, we let them. Steve Chopin and I, we both let them into our lives, see our daily struggles, the things that we go through, people that we lean on for help, and he did a great job putting it all together. And Steve Shope, the guy who he was his friend, and he's a 50-year-old guy married with 2 kids, was only 6 months out of his injury when they first taped him, and I was 3 years out of it. So it shows the difference between us two and kind of just how we come together. And it was an amazing piece, very emotional, and a lot of people took to it and just gives you a new profound appreciation on life.
I got a chance to see most of it this afternoon and finish it up later, but it's going to be airing quite a bit on all the different HBOs, and it's also on HBO On Demand right now.
It is on HBO On Demand right now. It was already on again today, I believe, on HBO. On, what was it, 5 o'clock, I believe somebody told me it was on, so it's going to be airing all week long, and as you said, on HBO and on HBO On Demand.
And again, it's called State of Play, and it is well worth your hour's time. There's no question about that. All right, so, Coach, as we have a couple of minutes left here, what are the things that you're going to be looking for your team just in terms of improvement this week to go 1-0?
Well, I think for sure, I said it before, third down. You know, we got to do a better job on third down in both phases, offense and defense. I think our specialists are going to be critical this week. Maryland's got one of the better kickers in our league. He hasn't missed a kick all year, and he's made a 57-yard field goal, so he's got a great leg. So we got to make sure that we match. When we have opportunities and we kick field goals, we got to make sure that we make them, and that means you got to have a good operation, good protection, etc. They've got an excellent returner in Likely, who has 2 punt returns for touchdowns already this year. One was called back, but he's an explosive guy in the return game. Stephon Diggs was their kickoff return guy, but now Likely's back there, and he'll do a great job as well. I believe they're number 1 in the conference in kickoff return right now, average. So, you know, the special teams battle this week is going to be critical because that's something that they have really used to help them win a couple games this year. And then we got to make sure that we control C.J. Brown, the runner. You know, that's going to be critical, and because they're going to use them, they're going to run them. They don't have a game the next week, so I think usually from being in offenses where the quarterback becomes a runner, when you know there's no game the next week, you're always a little bit more willing to run him a little bit more, and knowing he's going to have more time to recover. So I think we're going to have to contain him, the runner, because I think that'll be a big part of their offense.
I'm glad you brought up the special teams. When you got a guy who can kick a 57-yard field goal, how
It's a
important
weapon.
is it to flip the field once sometimes when you got to punt the ball and pin them down so you don't give them a short field and just drive a little bit and then kick a field goal?
There's no doubt, and you know one of the situations in a game that for coaches is very important is that coming out situation. If you do get pinned in there, making sure that you get 2 first downs or the 20-yard line, whichever comes first, is critical because that gives you a chance to flip the field. And when you're punting it inside the 20, there's a good chance they're going to get it around midfield.
Yes.
And now with that field goal kicker, it's not very long before they're in field goal range.
Coach, good luck going 1-0 this week, and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, I appreciate that, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's here with us at Brother Jimmy's and everybody who's listening to us online. I appreciate everything you've supported us with this season, and we're looking forward to putting on a great show for you on Saturday.
Good luck, Coach. Get you some more fried turkey.
Fried turkey coming up.
Bring me a plate.
I got you, Chris.
We want to thank Colin Osborne getting it done for us on ScarletKnights.com as he does each and every week. Also, Jimmy Gill and Jason Baum from the Rutgers Athletic Communications office making our jobs a lot easier, and Paul Schrager, our producer and engineer on site. That does it for this week's edition of The Kyle Flood Show.
You've been listening to The Kyle Flood Show, live from Brother Jimmy's on Easton Avenue in New Brunswick. The Kyle Flood Show has been brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Pepsi, live for now. UPS, to learn how UPS can put the power of logistics to work for you, visit thenewlogistics.com.